motives of the United States government have been crass, having to do with oil, resources, money, profits. I mean, you look at the huge profits that are being made by Halliburton and Bechtel, billion-dollar contracts, very often without competitive bidding. First we destroy Iraq, and then we give billion-dollar contracts to corporations to rebuild Iraq. And this is the United States following the same course as imperial nations throughout history, the British Empire and the Belgian Empire and the German and French empires. And ultimately, we are going to have to get out of Iraq. It's only a question of how many people are going to die before we understand that.
How many people are going to die before we understand? That's a good question. I didn't see anything unpatriotic about anything he just said. It sounded very factual, very truthful.
Well, it depends on your definition of patriotism, because, you know.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, obviously, my version and your version of loving your country is not the same as the guy that I got into a scuffle with at the tavern.
Yeah.
His idea is you love your country, you love your government.
Yeah, you know, that's a lot of spin they're putting on.
Well, that's what he asked me. He said, you don't love your country? And I said, I absolutely do love my country. I don't like my government.
Yeah, it's patriots like us, you know, that need to stand up to ignorance like that. That's just ignorance. I mean, that's just people who all they do, they sit around, they watch Survivor, Fox News, they care about, you know, this Michael Jackson trial coming up, which I'm not looking forward to. And all these diversion things, man, to block us from the truth. I do have a clip of the reaction of some of the callers. I can't get to them all. Some of them are even worse than this, but check this out.
Okay. The book on the table here is A People's History of the United States, 1492 to present. You can find it at your bookstores. Our next call is Toledo, Ohio.
Yes, I'd like to address this inversion of reality that this gentleman tries to present and foist around the American people, the nonsense that he espouses, typical of the American left. Do you realize, sir, that since the United States became the world's preeminent military power, the wars that we have fought have been to prevent imperialism? For instance, Nazi imperialism in Europe, Japanese imperialism in East and Southeast Asia, communist imperialism around the world, and yes, sir, even Iraq's attempt at an oil empire and imperialism in the Middle East. So this nonsense that we are some sort of an imperial power has got to be addressed and stopped right now. If we are truly an imperial power, we are the most inept, impotent imperial power that has ever existed on the face of this planet. And let me tell you why, sir. After all of those wars that we engaged in to fight foreign imperialism, our territory in the United States has remained essentially the same. And if we were so interested in an oil grab in the Middle East, why didn't we go to war with Middle Eastern powers when Saudi Arabia and several other Middle Eastern countries nationalized their oil fields, which, by the way, the British and the Americans developed? If it weren't for the West, the Middle Eastern nations would not even be able to get their oil out of the damn ground. Now, what do you say to that?
I say they wouldn't be able to get their oil out of the ground. You know, everybody needs us. I'm starting to come around to this way of thinking. This guy has a good point. We need to be over there. They need us. They need us to go over there and show them how to live. Show them what liberty and freedom is all about.
Yeah, because we're great at it.
The attitude of people, lashing out like that, it's just...
Well, I just know how he reacts to that caller, and I love the way he stays nice and calm, and that caller acts just like the guy that attacked me at the tavern.
Yeah.
All uppity, ready to... I mean, he sounded like he was standing up, getting red in the face.
Well, people think they're educated a lot of times when they're not. They're not educated at all. And
I don't claim to be educated. I just claim to be somewhat informed.
This is just a couple examples. I got one more we'll get to real quick here, and then we'll talk about that for a minute.
Oh, then we'll go to Howard Zinn again. Go ahead, Newport News.
Yes. I'd like to know what country he was a bombardier for. I mean, he's so un-American that I'm ashamed even to be listening to him. I've listened to Cspan for quite a few years now, and he's the most un-American I've ever heard of.
Caller, in your opinion, what makes him un-American?
Let me catch my breath first. I think everything he says is so un-American. America's this, America's that, because of his opinions. He just ought to keep his opinions to himself. I fought for this country too, but I'm sorry, I just can't talk anymore.
Thanks.
Yeah, see, this caller here is confused. He's another one that thinks that if you say something about the government, you're saying something about people who are in the military. That you're against, people that were brave enough to sign up for the military and go and do their service and fight for our country. And that's not what it's about. We're Americans.
Well, that's something you brought up before to me about what you thought I thought of Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming president.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, that'd be fine. But the whole thing is, I don't believe in a one president system. It's ruled by committee. Thomas Jefferson said it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Rule by committee. You have somebody in there representing all sides, whether Democrat, Republican, Green Party, what have you, whatever. But you have somebody in it's because once you can call it a democracy to a certain point, because then you're electing one person who goes in that office, and then isn't that a dictatorship after that?
Yes, it is.
It's a dictatorship when one person is in command.
Yeah. Well, I personally do not think a foreign-born person should become president of the United States. I do agree with the founding fathers on that principle. And this guy, and it's just the attitude in the media today. Keep your opinions to yourself, he says. I'm sorry, I hit the mic. We got better equipment this week, folks. But hey, this guy, keep your opinions to yourself. They don't want to hear it, and that's the attitude today, and it's sickening.
Well, his only comeback was that, I fought for this country. Well, that was basically the comeback that I got from that guy at the tavern.
Yeah. So
my brother fought for this country. So, in other words, don't say anything bad about this country, whether it be the government or, I don't know, whatever else.
If you're out there, don't think we're attacking anybody personally. Like I said earlier, people are mainly good. Good people. We're going to end this segment. We want to thank Mike for coming on the show, and we hope to have him back on soon.
Anytime.
Definitely. Go to our website, sign up for our newsletter, and enter for the free DVDs at harrythomas.nzfreeservers.com. It's a Net Zero. We want to thank Net Zero for putting on some free services. And we'll be back with the fourth segment shortly.